Welcome to Easy Peasy Books, From Author to Authority, the lively and engaging podcast for business professionals who've always believed they have a book in them. I'm your host, Gillian Whitney. Join me as I chat with authors and industry experts from all around the world to explore simple strategies to write, publish, and leverage your business book. Whether you're an entrepreneur, executive, or an employee, this podcast is for you. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Easy Peasy Books. And I'm your host, Gillian Whitney. Today, it's just a solo podcast here, and we're going to be talking about something that I think is essential for business authors, and that is the ability to read books. And this episode is From Reader to Author, Building Your Authority One Book at a Time. And the reason why I decided I wanted to talk about this is piggybacking on a conversation that I recently had with a colleague, and they were telling me how much they envied that I am such a voracious reader because, spoiler alert, I am an avid reader. I love to read. I literally think that I was born into the planet. I came out in the delivery room reading a book, and I told the doctor who was about to slap me, wait, I'm just getting to the good part. I truly believe that I have always been surrounded by books. I love libraries. I love bookstores. I have so many books on the go. I have books on I use the Kindle app, so I have books on my iPad. I listen to audiobooks when I'm cooking or cleaning. I listen to books in the car. My husband and I listen to books sometimes over dinner. We like to share a book. Sometimes it's a great way to kind of unwind in the evening and make our dinner go a little bit slower too. And on top of that, I read books for business. I always have a book. And recently, my big night out or big afternoon out, we did a day date the other day. And I got to go to a library book sale. I was so happy. It was just like, yay, look at all these books that get to come home with me. So it was just absolutely wonderful. Now, what I think is so important about reading is it just helps us become better writers. Just through reading, we become better writers. We learn about grammar and we expand our vocabulary. We begin to know storytelling techniques. I'm reading this book, which I picked up at the book sale, called The Power of Moments. And it's by those Heath brothers, Dan and Chip Heath. And it's all about how moments in our life affect us. And it's like, this is a great book to read if you're trying to figure out how to work personal stories into your business book that you're writing. So highly recommend this book. I've just started it and I love it. And these guys are the king of storytelling. If you've ever read Made to Stick, that's another great book by them about how do you make a story sticky? Sounds like such a funny word, doesn't it? Sticky. But how do you get a story to actually stick with people? They remember the story. The lesson is all wrapped up in the stickiness of the story, so to speak. But anyways, I digress. I was talking about a conversation. I think I'd started talking about this, a conversation that I had with a colleague who was telling me they envied me for being such a voracious reader. And they said, quite frankly, I don't have the time or the money to read. And they confessed that they could probably count on one hand the number of books that they've read since they graduated college. And I was like, what? We need to just take those obstacles and smash them off your path. And I thought, you know what? If this could be affecting my friend, it could probably affect you too. So I just want to put in a plug for why reading is important. And let's talk about those obstacles that my friend has for reading. So first of all, let's talk about the time barrier. I don't have time to read. So basically, it's just like you don't need to sequester yourself off into the mountains in a cabin with an old typewriter in order to bang out a book. We don't need to do that. And the same as with reading. We don't have to say, well, when I have a summer vacation and I'm not doing anything for 2 months, then I'll start reading. No. Like writing, reading is the same way. You have to fit these into the cracks of the day. They slip in, and it's very easy to slip them into your day. So, for starters, you could, when you wake up in the morning, own that time. If you're a morning person, get up a half hour earlier and spend that time reading. You can sit over your coffee. Don't go to your emails. Don't read emails and drink your morning coffee. Claim that time for yourself. So you could just pick up your book and you could just read one chapter with a cup of coffee before the day starts and everyone else owns you. Don't be, owned by your email inbox. No, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You don't need to be doing emails. There's no reason why you can't be after your workout or whatever. Sit and read a book and take that time for yourself. You can also work it into your lunch hour, your dinner, etc. But another thing is think about whether, maybe want an afternoon break. It's so good. I have talked before about sharpening the saw and how it's important that we need to have time to relax and rejuvenate. So, having the British people know this. That's why they have afternoon tea. Everything stops for tea. Well, a cup of tea and a good book, they go together so nicely. Throw in a biscuit. If you're American, it's a cookie. And that is another way that you can, of course, slip that reading in, taking 15, 20 minutes to have a cup of tea and read a chapter of a book. You don't even have to read a whole chapter. A couple pages will do. Books have bookmarks. That's why you buy bookmarks, books where you are in the book. So that's great. Another thing is if you sit around, and I am totally guilty of this, for Netflix binging late at night, and you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. It's the end of the day. I'll just watch an episode. And you know what? They make those episodes so you're like, oh my gosh, I got to see how they get out of this. And the president's about to die, and all these things are going on in your series. So you just go, okay, I'm going to limit myself to maybe 2 episodes, one in a binge. That's it. 2 episodes, not 5. And you're going to say, I'm going to retire maybe an hour earlier and I'm going to read in bed. I do that every single night. I always read in bed. I put my iPad, I like to use my iPad. I put my iPad on dark mode and it allows me to read and slowly start shutting down my brain before bed. I am not one of those people that can go to bed and go to sleep. My husband is, and it's just like, boom, he's asleep. No holds bar. But I would sit there just ruminating about my day and what about this? What about that? Making laundry lists. I have things I should do. I just need a sort of a way to downshift. And so reading for 15, 20 minutes before bed before I go to sleep is such a great thing. So I do it at night. I turn off all the lights and I just put it on dark mode. So it's like black paper with white writing, really easy on my eyes. And that's how I slip reading in. But you may not want to read a book. You might want to consume a book by listening on audio. And that's another great way that you can slip some reading into your day. You could be listening to a book when you're driving around town, or especially if you're doing a long commute somewhere. You can also be listening to an audiobook when you go walking the dog. And it's like audiobooks are perfect for that. You just walk as much as you want. And then when you go to start the audiobook again, it knows exactly where you left off and it queues up and you just go on to the next bit. So that's great. If you work out at a gym, you can listen to podcasts. That's what I do. You can listen to music or you could listen to an audiobook. So those are all great ways of putting reading and slipping it into those cracks of your day. So let's now talk about the cost barrier, because this is really important in terms of you don't have to spend any money. I'm saying any money at all in order to read. Now, I have books all over the house. If there's a book that I want and I know I want to keep it, I will order that book from Amazon and boom, I have it. I also support lots of independent authors. So I will buy a book on Amazon to support local authors. Oh, I would support local authors too, but independent authors. I like to do that as well. But I also like to get a lot of books for like at a library book sale. That's one. An honor. Libraries are always selling books, by the way. If you go to any library, they always have like a little shelf where they're selling books. But there are so many ways that you can have free books that we don't even have to worry about talking about low cost books. I'm talking about free, free, free. So, first place to get books for free is your local library. I don't know how many times I've asked people, do you go to your library? And they're like, I've never even been to the library where I live. And it's like, go, go, go. I chose where I'm living right now in Texas because of the library. I saw the library and I went, oh my gosh, I have to live here. This is the most beautiful library I've ever seen. It's like, it's all glass. It's gorgeous. It's on a little creek. And so I love to go there and I go for walks. It's got rooms I can book and I can sit and look out. I love the library here. But the library is a great place to get books for free. And here's a secret that not everybody knows about. If you go to your library and you ask them, say you wanted to ask them for this book, The Power of Moments by the Heath brothers, and they don't have the book, every library has something called interlibrary loan. And if you go to the librarian, you'd say, you don't have the book that I need. Is it possible for me to get this book on interlibrary loan? And what they will do is they will search on the computer and they'll see where in the country, sometimes in the world, but where in the country is the book that you want. And then what they have is reciprocal lending with other libraries. And so they'll have the book sent to their library and then you can check it out. I have done this, and I did this in Las Vegas recently. And they actually got me a book and they shipped it from Canada. I was really surprised that they would go out of the country and get me this book, but they did. Now, the book was all about Winnipeg, so it kind of made sense that it came from Canada. But the great thing about interlibrary loan is that it doesn't cost you anything. You can, there's always a box that says, are you willing to pay for this? Because sometimes there could be a fee and you can just say, I don't want to pay the fee. So unless you can get it for free, I don't want it. And so this is a fabulous way that you can get access to books. Or they might tell you, oh, that's available at another branch. We can have it pulled in. So if you live in a big enough place that there's multiple library branches, they'll probably just pull it from another branch. So and that's not even part of interlibrary loan. It's just part of the normal library system. So do check out your local library, because that is a fabulous place to get books. And also too, local libraries will even think about buying a book. So if you make a suggestion, and if you have friends and colleagues that are authors, go and suggest their book, because maybe the library will go buy their book. That's a great thing as well. So local libraries, so many good things out of the local library. The next place is digital library access. And what I'm talking about is you can use apps like Libby is an app, Overdrive is an app, Hoopla is an app. And these are apps that you can get and download to your tablet or your phone. And you can check out books without ever going to the library. And all you need to use these is a library card. You just have to have an existing library card that's valid and hasn't expired and that sort of thing. And then when you download the app, you just put in the library card number and what your library is. And most of the libraries have one or the other, and many libraries have access to all three. And there's probably even more I don't even know about. But this is something I just told my friend Tina, who lives in Estonia, check to see if you can use Libby. And she says, I was able to. And she was able to get virtual books, which means that she can get ebooks that she downloads. And sometimes they're through Kindle and sometimes they're just through the app. And you can also get audiobooks, and you get like 3 weeks. You can renew them. It doesn't cost anything. It's just absolutely fantastic. And when the book is due, they just take it away. So you can never have any fines, because when the book is out, they just whisk it right off your device and that's the end of it. So I do highly recommend doing those. And again, all you need is a library card, and this is completely free. Now, the next one I wanted to talk about is Amazon Prime Reading. Now, this is something I can't believe I just learned about this recently. For some reason, I just kept thinking of Kindle Unlimited, which is like a totally different beast. Kindle Unlimited, you do have to pay a monthly subscription. It's not exorbitant, but every penny counts. And I'm talking free today, so Kindle Unlimited is not free. You pay a monthly price, and then you can read as many books as you want as long as that book is enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. And I know I have several books that I have gone ahead and enrolled my books that you can get on Amazon in Kindle Unlimited. And people have told me, I've read your book for free. It didn't cost me anything. I just used Kindle Unlimited. And I'm like, yay, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. But Amazon Prime Reading is totally different. Now, first of all, in order to have Amazon Prime Reading, you have to be an Amazon Prime customer, which makes total sense. But many, many, many of you are Amazon Prime members. And so what you can do is there's this thing called Amazon Prime Reading, which allows you to take up to 10 books out and check out 10 books at a time. And they have like over 1,000 different titles that you can choose. And they're constantly updating what these titles are. And some of them are like, they range. They're fiction, they're nonfiction, they're business books, they're, all sorts of different books. And you can just browse and go through them and say, oh, I'd like this. I think right now, I have 6 books that are checked out to me through Amazon Prime Reading. And the great thing is there's no loan period. You get to keep them as long as you check them out onto your device. And so I like to have them on my device. I have usually, I think I said I had about 6 of them. Probably 4 of those are novels. And these are great for when I know I'm just going to get stuck somewhere and I'm going to want something to read, because that's another thing about time. Always have a book with you. And if you don't have a book with you, get something on Prime, because I could whip out my phone and I could read a book, so that if I got stuck in traffic or I was in the airport and my flight got delayed or canceled or something, I'd be, no problem. I have a book to read. As long as I've got power on my iPhone, I can read a book. So this is a great thing. 10 titles. And again, they just sit on your device. You know which ones are Amazon Prime Reading, so you never get confused. And you can keep them as long as you like. So I think that's just absolutely the bee's knees, is this Amazon Prime Reading. So solving what should I read? Because that's a big thing. So once you overcome the time and the money obstacle, the next thing you'll probably think about is, okay, Jillian, what should I be reading? Because sometimes it's like, I don't know, and that's the thing about when you go to a bookstore, you can browse, and that's why I actually love to go to bookstores, because I can kind of go through, I can see what's new. I can go through a section. I can oh, here's thrillers and here's what's going on with this. I can get, late, what was the thing that came out the other day? Another Dan Brown book. I love all the Dan Brown books. And I was like, ooh, there's a new one out. This is kind of funny. I actually put a request to get it from the library, because I don't usually buy a lot of fiction, because I would just be surrounded by novels. I have too many books as it is. So fiction, I try not to buy. And that's really what I reserve going to the library for, because I'm not typically going to reread fiction, except for maybe my big favorites. But anyways, a new Dan Brown book came out. I can't even remember the title of it. And I just went, oh, I'll just go ahead and put the request in at the library. I think I'm 200th in line. And it's they'll let me know when it finally comes up. So I thought that was kind of funny. It's okay, I don't mind being 200th in line. Saves me, I don't know, $20. I don't have to go and buy the book. But anyways, solving what I should read is a big thing for people. They're just okay, I don't know what do I need to go read the classics? What should I be reading? So I'm going to make a couple of suggestions. So the first thing is, my dear friend in Scotland, Rebecca Wilson, she has a fabulous YouTube channel called Business Book Bites. And on that channel, she has done book reviews of business books. And she goes through and she has a formula for her reviews with, she kind of goes through a set thing allowing you in just a couple of minutes of watching a video to kind of go, would that book have any value for me? So she might talk about, Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and then she'll go through and what did it do for her and how it ticks the box or didn't tick the box for her. So that is a fabulous resource. I think she has close to, I'm thinking she has like 175, maybe more videos. She has a lot of videos. So I hope I'm not overblowing it, but I know she has lots and lots of videos because she's been doing this for years. And she has all these great videos where you can go through and just say, oh, okay, let me see what that book's about. And some of them are independence. So she does independence and she does big name books, everything A to Z, A to Z if you're British, A to Z if you're British. So do check out Rebecca Wilson's YouTube channel, and I will go ahead and put that in the show notes here so that you have the direct link to go over to her YouTube channel. The second source is the folks at Amazon have put together a list called 100 books to read in a lifetime. And this is essentially put together by the Amazon editors. To be honest with you, I don't even know who the Amazon editors are. I have no idea. But I have actually gone through that list myself. And a lot of those books I have read, or I went, oh, that's one I've missed. I don't know about that book. But I can actually tell you it's a really good blend of fiction and nonfiction and books that are like classics, but not like Pride and Prejudice classics, although I personally love Pride and Prejudice. But just sometimes those books like To Kill a Mockingbird or Fahrenheit 451. I hope I'm doing the title right. Those are books, or George Orwell's 1984. Those are books to me that are classics because we discuss them all the time. We talk about those books all the time. So anyways, wide range of books, nonfiction, fiction, go through there, and that will give you 100 books to help you sort of stimulate, give you ideas on what books you should read. And also too, to me, if you're on LinkedIn, this is a fabulous way to have an engaged post, is literally say, I'm going on an airplane. I want to take a book. Tell me your favorite airplane read, or, I'm going off for 2 weeks vacation and I want to have 3 thriller novels to read. What do you recommend? Because people love to share what books move them. I share books all the time. So that's an amazing thing. Just put that out there. Now, a pro strategy is to combine Rebecca Wilson's Business Book Bites and this 100 books and just kind of go through and just see if there's some overlap. And then anything that's overlapped, go ahead and write those ones down, because if Rebecca recommended it and the Amazon editors, whoever they are, if they recommended it, it's like, oh, put it together. You probably got a really good list of books for you to start reading. So where do I want to go in closing? With this, what I want to do is I want to basically give you a reading challenge, because I think reading books is really going to make you a better author. And to be honest with you, kind of going back to my friend, here's the catch about my friend. My friend wants to write a business book someday. Always that someday. And we have to get out of someday, and it's just like really, put it out there. But honestly, can you really expect somebody to read your book, buy your book, read your book, take action on your book, and hopefully write a review or recommend your book to friends? A personal recommendation of a book is an incredible way, but Amazon reviews, that is lifeblood for authors. Well, if you don't read other people's books and you're not part of that reader journey yourself, how do you expect to excite other people to then want to come and read your book? I liken it to if you were a chef and you never went to a restaurant, what kind of chef would you be? If you're a musician and you never go to a concert, do you really start to know what music works and looking at the audience and, oh, wow, they really love the solo and this and that. If you don't ever go to a concert, then you're in a vacuum. And that's the thing that I'm thinking for my friend. If they say that they don't read, but they want to write, well, how do you know what to write? If you don't read, you don't know what's going to resonate because essentially, most of the time, we're writing the book for ourselves that we wish we had, before when, especially with a business book, maybe with a novel, we're not doing that with a fiction novel, but with a business book, a lot of times we're writing that book for our younger self. And so if we read books knowing what we're looking for in a book, did that book promise something? Did they meet that promise? That helps you become a better writer, a better author. So I think that's so important. So here's my closing reading challenge to you. First of all, I'd like you to pick one free resource that we talked about today and go ahead and set it up. So whether that's getting a library card, yes, finally go to your library and get a library card. All you need is your driver's license, just something to show where you live. And if I can do it living in 30 different apartments, and I have multiple library cards, by the way, but it's like, if I can do it, you can do it. So literally go get that library card. And if you don't want a library card, then go ahead and, well, you do need the library card if you're going to get Libby or Hoopla or Overdrive. So you just have to go to the library once. You don't have to use the library if you don't want to, but you do need to get that library card. Or if you're an Amazon Prime person, skip the library altogether. You're hurting my heart, but go ahead and just you're already paying for Prime. So why not use the Amazon Prime reading? So, that's great. That's great stuff. So pick one of those and set it up this week, today, even, this week, whatever. Don't dilly dally with that. Now, what I want you to do, the second part of my challenge is I want you to choose your first book that you want to read. You don't have to be like me and have, the thriller on my Kindle and my, I'm listening to, what am I listening to? Here's actually what I'm doing on Prime. I am reading Cheryl Strayed's Two Women Walk Into a Bar. And this is a very interesting story. It's actually called an Amazon original. Who knew? Who knew such a thing existed? So essentially, it is a short story. It's a short book. It's a tiny book. And then that way, that's like an hors d'oeuvre. Reading a short book like this is an hors d'oeuvre, but it counts. It's reading. So, maybe pick a short book. Don't go pick War and Peace that's like so thick, or like Game of Thrones that you're going to have to read 9 novels or something. Pick something that you find interesting, fiction or nonfiction. I don't care. Pick a book that's going to be your first book that you want to read. And then what I want you to do is read at least 10 pages. Just give me 10 pages, because I think if you take the time, and again, it's about slipping the time in for reading in the cracks of your day. And so just figure out, where does it work for me to read? Should I get up half an hour earlier and read it with that coffee and a bagel? Should I have that afternoon tea time break like the Brits and just go and sit in a nice comfy chair and, tune off and, maybe put some music on, listen to music and read a book when you're having a cup of tea and a biscuit or cookie? See if it's maybe better for you to read in the bathtub. Some people love to read in the bathtub. Danger, I have dropped too many books in the bathtub. And I would never want to drop my Kindle. So I am not a fan of bathtub reading. I don't like to read in the bathtub. But I do like to read before bed. So think about less Netflix, more reading, and read at least 10 pages of a book and see if that hooks you in. And you don't have to read those assigned readings that, you had in college or high school. If it's been a long time for you, since you picked up a book, I'm challenging you, go find a book that lights you up, business or pleasure. It doesn't matter. I just want you to read, because the more you read, the more you will write and you will become a better writer. So I hope that there has been some value in this podcast today. I appreciate you guys listening in. I appreciate you listening in, and we'll be back next week, and we'll see you then. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Easy Peasy Books, from author to authority. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be grateful if you could leave us a review. It helps other aspiring authors discover our podcast. To learn more about writing, publishing, and leveraging your business book, visit my website at easypeasybooks.com.